Now, Dr Jan Wright, Parliamentary Commissioner for the Environment.
The job that I have as Parliamentary Commissioner for the Environment is very unusual. The main feature of it is the parliamentary part of it, that I'm actually, as it were, part of Parliament, or attached to Parliament rather than government, and that means that I'm independent.
Her role is that she chooses issues in the public interest and she investigates them, and she often has a lot to say in a way which has an impact on policy and law reform in future. She's an expert in the field, and whether it's fracking or 1080, I'm sure that you will have seen some of this in the media.
This was the culmination of months of protests. Anti-1080 demonstrators invading the restricted loading zone in an effort to try and stop a huge helicopter poisoning operation on the coast.
Leave him alone, man!
It's basically the police and the security guards protecting a few people that want this 1080 dropped all over the place.
There are 6 helicopters operating today, covering 40,000 hectares and spreading 80 tonne of bait.
This does sometimes keep me awake at night, thinking about what kind of world we're leaving to future generations.
A 1080 pallet used to poison possums has been found in a creek supplying water to the township of Ross on the west coast. The discovery was made after helicopters spent the past 2 days dropping 80 tonnes of bait over an area of 40,000 hectares.
I can really understand why 1080 is so controversial, especially when it's dropped out of aircraft. I mean, the idea of dropping poison out of the sky is naturally bad, it gives you a bad feeling. It just feels like a really bad thing to do. But I really don't feel we have a choice.
A West Coast farmer says his livelihood is at risk after 1080 poison was dropped in a creek on his property. The farmer says he had an assurance that helicopters doing the drop would stay 500 metres away from his farm.
The landscapes here I'm familiar with, they feel like home, and we do have this much closer relationship with a natural environment than people are able to have in other countries. So personally that's very important to me.
Proponents of 1080 say possums are enemy number 1, spreading TB and eating their way through forests and killing native bird life.
We use it to target those mammals because 26 million birds a year in our forests are being killed by rats, possums, stoats and other predators.
And I think for us, we see ourselves as people of the land who live in a beautiful place, who are in touch with the environment. And it really is very encouraging to see so many individuals and households changing the way they live and work.
For over 15 years, the New Zealand government has been systematically dropping massive amounts of food, laced with a cruel and universally toxic poison, into its forest ecosystems. Enough poison every year to kill the entire population of New Zealand 4 times over. No other country is doing or ever has done anything remotely similar on such a scale.
Fracking has actually been going on in New Zealand in Taranaki for 20 years. It's a way of it's cracking rock below the surface of the earth to make it more porous, mainly for gas to come through, get some oil recovery as well. There have been a lot of concerns with it in the United States and some other countries and some of the ways it's been done. I was asked by many people and councils and so on to do an investigation into it, to see in the New Zealand context, and that investigation has begun in my office, so we'll be coming out with that report hopefully towards the end of the year or maybe early next year.
We must make the clean green reality fit the clean green image. I think that long term, it's my view that the cleanness and greenness of New Zealand, if you like, remains our point of difference actually with other countries, and it is our comparative advantage economically, and we need to build on this as much as we can. People who've been particularly worried about 1080 have actually performed a great service for the rest of us, because that has led to many controls being placed on 1080.
It struck me as quite serendipitous actually to be alongside you, Jan, for a reason that I'll now explain, which is that, as Graham said, I live in the community of Golden Bay, and we're surrounded by bush-covered mountains, streams coming out of those mountains, nourish our community. And I've been part of a group of people now in our community who aren't really happy about what's happening to us, which is that the Department of Conservation and the Animal Health Board, in their attempts to eradicate possums from our forests, have been poisoning our landscape and our community for many years with 1080 poison. And of course, as Jan just spoke, she recently authored quite a significant report declaring that not only is 1080 poison a good thing for our country, but that we should be using more of it. And of course, this report has proved challenging for those of us in our community who are working as activists on this, trying to protect ourselves in the place where we live, because every time that I call, the district council or the health board, they say, well, the Parliamentary Commissioner for the Environment says it's okay, so it must be okay. So thank you for this extra challenge that you've given us. And I don't know if anyone's ever written you a poem in honor of one of your reports. Have they? No. Okay, well actually they have, because I have, so if, I'd like to share it with you. Sitting in your square office, high above concrete street, fingertips tapped keyboard. You said, I've read the reports, the poison is safe. Well, under pitched roof, under waning moon, gazing out under forest carpeted mountain range, I, on no salary other than blood pumping my veins, put inky hand to page. You said the poison is safe. When you said safe, were you referring to a slow death for any creature on the forest floor, convulsing hours or days after tasting the bait? When you said safe, were you talking about helicopters humming up valleys, over streams in my community, dusting green pellets from the sky like a gentle snow? When you said safe, were you talking about the cattle trough, the shower, the kitchen sink, the pregnant belly leaning against bench top, having a long, cool drink, for that is where those mountain streams flow? When you said safe, did you know about all of the toxicology studies, the malformed testes, the energy cell in the cycle breaking down? I know that you want to protect the birds, but my mates pick them up, splayed dead on cold forest soil. This is violence. When you said safe, had you stepped onto a mountain trail after the poison operations with us and listened to the silence? And safe, was that supposed to mean like the farmers who watched their cows die and were paid off by the government quietly, providing they sign the bottom line and agree not to tell of one of the many times the poison drop didn't go so well? From your square office, high above concrete street, you go home at the end of the day. You sleep while I sleep under silent mountains, carpeted forest green. It's so much easier to erase what we've never seen with the stroke of a pen or tap of a key without tasting what it means. As I twist open my tap to drink from a clear mountain stream, when we say safe, do we mean safe like the poison sprayed on food for people to eat? Spray mask on the spray man, but no mask for the mouth swallowing. Do we mean safe like GE? Do we mean safe like the tumors gnashing their teeth on more human bodies in the supposedly developed countries each year? Sometimes I hear the call of the mountain, of the wind. Sometimes I hear the call of the hawk or a river singing through trees. Sometimes I've sat in a circle of friends and shared one waking dream. So we stand as circles of people have done for so many years. We draw this circle here. We call protection for this air, this earth, these sacred waters, these birds, our siblings, these sacred waters, this clear sky. We recognize what flows in these streams flows through our veins, and these battles may appear to be scored on the floor of a debating chamber or skyscraper somewhere, but we know they are won one mind at a time, one soul at a time, one rhyme at a time. When we look into each other and recognize in each of us glows the same spark divine, and when I forget, a friend is there to remind me how powerful each of us is in a society that's often trying so many ways to get us to forget. And believing our power just might be the most powerful thing we've done yet. So I wrote this poem, I guess, for everyone who's ever felt some days like your struggle to transform smog haze would never end. For every late night when it feels like there's too much to fight. For every dawn when you rise anyway, breathe the breeze in and resolve to evolve and shine. Even with your back against the brick wall, let my every rhyme remind you every fortress falls. May you raise your heart song of truth in the choppy waves of this so-called democracy and remind the district council, the medical officer, the prime minister, you are not our rulers. You are our employees, for the rhythm of hope bouncing your step. Knowing you will defend this earth even if there's only one day left. Sing into her rivers, for we were born to flow. This frequency of love from mountains to shores. Let it vibrate your core. Let this knowing raise you more. We are fragile bodies encasing divine intentions. And as dark may seem, a new earth is born as we give breath to the dream in a world where we so often believe we can't change anything. So often we don't even let ourselves see what's being done to this earth in our names. But when we each do our something, everything does change. So I'm venturing my foot tenderly out onto this frozen lake to see who's willing to step out with me. And this poem is for you too. Who said it was safe? Truly. You said it was safe, but you are not my enemy. And I invite you on behalf of those in my community to come home with me. To stand with us in that forest. To cup your hands and drink with us from that clear stream flowing clean. People of the valleys, ridges, and rivers, we invite you to laugh with us, to dance with us, as we rap out in the streets, as we engage, as we ring, we sing, we write late into the night, we screen, we petition, we demonstrate, and we educate our neighbors to blink past the lies. And we embrace each other joyously, arms wrapped around each other's open chests, for there is no greater joy than this fierce love as we together reclaim responsibility for protecting the life of this earthly community.